Hey, we have an alert. We may have another country music cheapskate to talk about.
Cheapskates we will not stand for.
Only we're allowed to be cheap, not people who are rich. I'll tell you about it in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Hey, glad to have you back. It's an official first thing out of the gate. My house is now Christmas free.
Good
And
for you.
I'm really only doing this to toot my own horn because Katie was busy over the weekend. So single-handedly, I took everything down, put it away.
You made it sound like you wrestled a lion or something. I single-handedly.
It felt like that. It is such a chore. As I look around, I go, I sure do love all these decorations. And then it's time to put them away. And I'm like, God, why do we do this? But it's, yeah, and I even consolidated, and we have 2 boxes now that had stuff in them that are now empty for use for something else.
Ours is down, but we've got to, because we're having to wait for a special box that we ordered that hasn't got here yet. It's supposed to be here Sunday. It will be down Sunday.
So you're going to do the right thing and actually put it in like a big plastic kind of container thing, as opposed to like my dad, and I still do this too, honestly. Used to be, if you had an artificial tree, you can tell how old your tree is, how many seasons it's gone through, by how many rounds of duct tape you got to put around the box. Because once you open it once and then you start putting it back in that same box, it gets a little harder to close each year until finally you have to start sealing it up with duct tape. And it's like counting the rings on a tree. It's like, oh, that's got 6 rings of duct tape. This is its 7th season. So good for you for doing the right thing. That's awesome.
That's laziness. Rach is taking care of all this. I've been very lazy. I just sit back and point out things. I'd be a great foreman.
I was going to say, that's part of the job. Every job must have one of those as well.
Yes.
So you found your niche.
I need a dad clipboard where I can walk around and go, you know what I'd do? I'll be back after lunch, see where we're at on that.
See what kind of progress you've made on the work that I'm not doing. What about the Mega Millions?
You know, what's the odds in that? It's some ridiculous number. It's
1 in 302 million and change.
So buying 2 tickets really spikes that.
Now, in case you're confused about how odds work, you should know that for future drawings, whatever, when you buy a lottery ticket, the odds are the same whether you're the only person playing or whether millions of people are playing.
So if it's a $4 million or $1 billion,
doesn't matter.
Same odds.
Yeah, same odds. So those things don't really have an effect. So that's kind of how that works. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll buy 20 tickets and I'll really up my odds.
Yeah.
And that's just the odds. It's how it is. It's how it works. So
it's just a good excuse to walk around the office and not work. And just,
Who wants to get in this pool? Who wants to get in this pool?
Yeah, get in the pool. And then it always happens, the same thing. There's one person when they win, and when an office wins, and they're like, oh, we won a couple $1 million, we're all going to split it. There's the one jerk in the office that was like, I'm not giving you my money.
I don't want to spend on that.
And then they're the ones crying, going, I think it should be split evenly amongst all the employees. And they usually chip in and give them some. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you didn't want to buy in. You said lottery, what, and I get it. It's a dream. And, obviously it's not something you can count on, but it's fun.
If 7 of you in an office all chipped in $1 and one person said, I'm not giving $1, and then started begging, like, please cut me in on it, I didn't do it, I'd be like, no, this is what you call a life lesson, An expensive one.
On the subject of that kind of stuff, though, and you've probably seen it. I mean, like when Oprah had her show, she had a lot of people like this on news channels cover it. People who have won lotteries, and then their life is like ruined.
We had a lady on the show that had won, I think, $800,000 after taxes or something, and she bought like a $200,000 or $350,000 house, something like that, and bought a car, and then put the rest in paid off her kids' college before they went to college.
Pretty sensible, yeah.
And then it was gone. But, I mean, the house she bought was not a mansion or anything like that, but she had not talked to her sisters in 6 years because they refused to talk to her because she did not split the money with them. Mind you, they didn't buy the ticket with her, but because they were flesh and blood, they deserve some of that money. And then we have a good friend that his uncle, great uncle, something like that, won one of the biggest lottery payouts in history.
Huge, yeah.
And he blew it all. They're going to make a movie out of it at some point. The stuff he was into, like taking $300,000 cash to a strip club. I mean, just ridiculous stuff.
That's why we play the lottery.
Girlfriends everywhere, blew through the money, and just was broke at the end of it. That's the reason why there's rules you need to do. If you win the lottery, you need to absolutely not tell a soul. Take a picture of it, put it in a safe, and then get security, change your numbers, and make a list of the people you actually are going to help before you even announce it. Because our friend whose uncle won that, he didn't get any of the money. He was a distant enough relative to where he didn't get a call like, we're going to give you some money. And he had churches showing up at his doorstep, asking him to become a member of the church and make a donation. He had people calling him nonstop, organizations asking for charity, and people begging him for money. And he was like, I didn't get any money.
When churches start paying taxes, then I'll think about giving them some of my lottery winnings. So, going back quickly though, on the relatives and stuff, assuming they're going to get something, I have to admit, if I won, this $1 billion thing, I would probably try to make sure I took care of everyone I was related to and had contact with, brothers, sisters, cousins, things like that, as best I could, because that's enough money that I could do that, give them a nice piece of money, and still have so much left over to do the things that we would want to do charity-wise and stuff.
I'm a control freak, so I would more or less, because there's some people I don't trust with the money. I mean, that we used to have a kid that worked for us, and we would say, we could give him $100 or $100,000, and in 2 weeks he would have the exact same amount to show for it, because he would just blow through it with bad decisions. So I would probably set up like allowance systems where it comes out monthly.
Well, you almost have to, because there's only so much you can give tax free to somebody in 1 year. So you'd almost have to do that anyway. But if I only won, if I won one of the smaller $1 million prizes, and then after taxes you only get what you get, $500,000. Sorry, guys.
Lunch is on me. Yeah, that's about it.
You didn't buy a ticket. I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
So it's funny how that goes. Anyway, if anybody wins any large amount of lottery and you're watching this,
we're not going to call you and bother you for money.
No.
But we really want some.
We're just going to go ahead and put it out here now, and that way we don't have to call you.
Exactly.
The ask has been made, and now we're all
pre-ask
square away. So we can, even without winning the lottery, we still afford Netflix and Amazon and things like that. We got around finally to watching Glass Onion, Knives Out Mystery. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
Super fun. I'm with you, though. Like, when it made that list of best movie of the year, I'm like, I don't think it's one of the best movies of the year. But, man, it's a fun movie. And I don't want to give anything away, but I loved how at the end I was like, God, I missed. That was right in front of my face.
Yes, that's what I love about those. And then also, I loved, first of all, how he solved the first mystery.
Yes.
Which you'll understand when you see the movie. And the cameo. Like I said, the cameo zoom he does is really kind of classic.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. So if you haven't seen it yet, you love a good, fun mystery, absolutely 100% worth watching. And then we also watched a movie that you probably maybe haven't heard of because it's not a big hit. Nobody really knows about it. It's called American Murderer. And it's based on a true story.
Mm-hmm. Mitch Gaylord's story.
No, I think that's American Anthem you're thinking of. Different movie for sure. No, this is based on a true story. It happened in, I believe, the 90s. And it's got Ryan Phillippe in it as an FBI agent. And then it's got the guy, I don't know his name. I'm sorry, I don't have the actor's name. I'm sure it'll come up on the screen. But he played Ben. He played the brother, Laura Linney's brother in Ozark.
Yes.
Great actor.
He's a fantastic actor.
Really, really good. And he's great again in this. And then there's some other recognizable faces. Anyway, nutshell, he plays a con man. He's basically a con man. He scams people, scams his own family, and he ends up getting in about 80 grand deep with some bad people who are going to kill him if he doesn't pay it back.
They'll do that.
So he starts looking for other ways, to try to get this money. And I'll just say this. It's worth the watch. It'll give you a little update at the end. If you're like me, anytime I watch a true story like this, I immediately get on the internet to see how accurate it is.
Yeah.
And this movie is quite accurate, and it's going to blow you away when you see what's happening about this story now.
And I always wonder about when you, like the story you just described, where you said he got in with bad people, 80 grand. Quit scamming bad people. That's my tip. It's like, hey, if you're like, you know what, I am a scam artist. I want to take people's money. If you take good people's money, they won't come kill you.
It's unbelievable. It starts out. I started out feeling kind of like, man, this guy's good.
Yeah,
he's laying it on, and then you just get angry because you're upset with him for what he's doing, and you're upset with the people who believe him. But these guys, men and women, they are so good at what they do. You understand how people can fall for it.
Yeah.
But man, it's worth a watch, I think, if you like those kind of movies. And again, based on a true story, crazy story.
Okay.
And if you're a fan of Wednesday, like we are,
I told you you'd love it. It's just cute.
So much fun. Katie, I asked Katie the other night, do you want to start watching this with me? Because I wasn't sure she'd be into it. And she said, all right. So last night, we turned on the first episode, and I said, at any point, if you don't want it, turn it off. And we're now at 4 episodes in, and she's really enjoying it. And it's already confirmed for season 2.
Yes.
So, and I guess the little teaser trailer they did went bananas.
Well,
like 1 billion views or something.
Yeah, everything they do, the dance has gone crazy, and it already did one cycle, and now the new cycle of TikToks and reels of the dance is people dressing up like little girls dressing up like Wednesday, and with the TV behind them on the dance scene, and they're doing the exact dance in sequence or whatever.
It's amazing. Well, Jenna Ortega, who plays Wednesday, I love her. I think she's a great actress. I say little. She's a 20-year-old woman.
Yeah, she's in the new Scream movie.
Yeah, she's great in that too. But she's small in stature, so she can play these younger roles. But she's quite an activist. I was reading up about her and I was really interested to see more about her. Very good actress, really devoted to the craft, but also really devoted to helping people in the Latina community and stuff. I just think she's going to be something big.
Oh,
and
cool.
I feel a little creepy because she's only 20, but she's a grown woman. Her eyes give me very strong Susanna Hoffs vibe.
Yeah, I see that.
Especially with the Wednesday makeup and stuff. So she's a lovely young lady, super talented. If you haven't checked out Wednesday yet, you absolutely should. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of country tea in a second, but we got to refer back to this other one again.
And we're not going to spill the beans and tell you who we're talking about.
Well,
but
on that subject, just yesterday, I got this text from my oldest daughter. Who's the person transitioning? The star. And as you can see, my response there. And she had just spent the entire night in the ER. That's why she was like, not even to me, I need this. But so she respected my integrity, she said, but she was upset that I wouldn't tell her.
I've had no less than a dozen people reach out, and I would say 10 of those I haven't talked to in years. And I'm like, really? Two of them I didn't even have their number in my phone anymore. And they're like, hey, man. And then they tried to ease into it. Like, what's up? We got to catch up. Hey, by the way, I saw your TikTok. But this thing has went viral. Like we said, almost 3 million views on TikTok. And one of our former producers, Melissa, who we love very much, works at a radio station up in Canada. And she said it showed up as something you need to see on their radio station page up there.
Wow.
So thank you, everyone, for watching them and taking interest in it. But I tell you what scares me is the comments.
Well, if you want to find the lowest common denominator, look for the people who are crazy, negative, or attacking in comments.
And like we said at the very beginning, we're like, hey, this is alleged. This is just what we're hearing. So we're not going to out anybody. We're not going to say anything. But the comments, the hatred, first of all, trying to bully us into telling. It's like, what? Oh, well, you said this. Oh, I better tell you.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
But second of all, assuming of things and yelling at people and everything. And some people turned it into a Republican-Democrat thing somehow.
Well, that's the world we live in now. No, you can take anything and they'll try to make it political.
And I did get a kick out of someone saying, a transgender? Well, Republicans do not behave this way. And I just kind of wanted to say, look, and I'm not saying I'm a Democrat. I'm not saying I'm a Republican. I'm just saying Caitlyn Jenner ran for governor as a Republican. So the Time Magazine Woman of the Year, transgender, ran as a Republican as a governor of one of the 50 states. So you might want to do your research before you
that's
mouth off.
The best bit of advice you could do is just shut up.
And then so many, confirmed, and we did it, and just people just being angry. And then also there was a lot of, he seemed gay, so it's got to be him. And it's like transgender really has nothing to do with sexuality of.
Yeah, those are two separate things.
Yeah,
so a little reading. Never hurt anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So you might,
I don't know the big words, but I can read basic.
Yeah, just looking up a couple of simple articles will tell you a little bit more about that, and it's worth learning about. This is the world we're in now. Why not learn a little bit about that instead of being? So
how's that go again? I like that.
I'm trying to be nice about it.
Make a meme of that.
This tea is not nearly as big and crazy as that, but you hear a lot about celebrities, and if you're watching this and you are in a world where you have served a celebrity, you're a waiter or waitress, whatever, and they're cheap, by all means, let's out these people.
Yeah, text us or call us.
But when it comes down to like this particular story we're about to share, and somebody was saying that this person showed up at a charity and didn't give anything, and they're like, why even show up if you're not going to give anything?
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to defend this person and any other celebrities. A lot of these people, they do it the right way. You're not supposed to make a show of your good deeds. You're supposed to do it in private. You do it quietly, and that's how it goes. So the people who are out there ready to, and now sometimes it leaks out, obviously, but people who want to make a big deal about charitable donations, that's not how you do it.
Well, I'll tell you this, too. These people's time is valuable. I mean, we were not a celebrity by any means, but we got paid a certain amount to be places per hour. And if you think about a celebrity, they may be worth $10,000 an hour or $20,000 an hour, and they're taking their time out of their day. And when they have downtime, they don't want to be signing autographs. They don't want to be out, like taking pictures and everything. To show up at a charity function, that's almost as well, because they may have promised someone to help get hype for their charity that they would come.
It's possible. I get my blanket statement on this before we share the story is don't assume that a celebrity is cheap because you don't hear about them giving to charity, because they may be doing a lot of things for charity that you don't know about.
And I'll give one more example, then you can out this person for being cheap. We know a country artist that he has his charity set up and he does things for charity. But one of his favorite restaurants in Nashville, the owner's son had a brain tumor, I believe, and had to go to Minnesota to have it removed. And then they wasn't allowed to fly back because of the altitude. And so they were saying they're closing the store for a couple of days so that they can drive back across country. And this artist just said, well, what are they driving in? Or what are y'all driving in? And they said, well, we've got a van. We had to buy a van or rent a van to drive them across country. And he was like, that's uncomfortable. And he gave him his tour bus and paid his tour bus driver and everybody so that he could be comfortable and, watch TV. And as a family, they could be together when he came back. And there was nothing ever in the news about that. Didn't put it out there. And I only knew about it because the people at the restaurant talked about it. Wow. But, there's a lot of people that give to charity out there. They just don't make a show of it. So Dolly Parton's one of the best examples.
Sure. Having said that, then there are people who assume that they should just get everything for free. And I guess that's the thing that bothers me about celebrity is like, look, I'm happy for you. I don't, man, good for you. Make that money, do your thing. But don't expect things to be free. Yeah. That kind of bugs me. It's like you of all people should not be getting something for free because you have the money to pay for it.
I know a guy that's in radio that used to on the air all the time hint like, I'm not used to paying when I go into restaurants. Usually they let me eat for free. And it's like, oh, quit hinting that you don't want to have to pay.
Now, in his defense, at least that's somebody who wasn't making a ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's like you are in the public eye. Maybe you could do some good. Of course, the problem with this guy is he wasn't going to do you any good for coming into your restaurant because all he did was bitch about it and complain about the bad service and stuff. He never was nice about anybody that gave him anything free. Insane.
True.
But anyway. So if you're, I don't know if I want to say the name of this person. Maybe we'll give a hint or two. But I'll share the story.
Okay.
Someone who lives in Nashville started taking golf lessons, and I guess the person that they started taking golf lessons from is fairly well known in the community there, and he's given a lot of celebrities golf lessons.
Okay.
So he's very good. And a story came up basically that this particular celebrity came for golf lessons. He did the golf lesson thing, or whatever, and then they never paid. So he contacted this young lady and said, hey, we did those lessons and everything, and I never got paid. And her response was basically, well, I'm not going to pay. People like me don't pay for golf lessons.
Ooh.
And that's the thing that really bugged me about it. People like me don't pay for golf lessons. Woman, unless they say up front, hey, this is on the house, this is on us, you're paying for whatever it is that's being offered. Don't assume that you're getting anything for free. That's just an ugly trait.
Well, we're not going to out that person, but I'll give a big hint.
Okay.
Before the national championship football game,
the
other night, Georgia and TCU, which Georgia, she performed on one of the channels, and it was, it was up there, and she played guitar, kind of. Like if you watch it, she got her, chord ready, but she never moved her finger once. It was like they put a guitar in her hand and said, hold your fingers there and don't move them.
Pretty easy to figure out, I guess.
If you go back and check that, then you'll know.
Watch that. So that's just a little piece of something we've heard. And I lean towards believing this.
I do, because we've heard multiple stories. And I remember one of the first times I spoke to this individual, I was like, whoa.
Well, her whole life's kind of been entitled.
Yeah.
And, and hey, again, I'm not sweating anybody for having money. But
I am.
But be nice.
Oh.
You still need to be nice. And and in fairness to her, she probably learned that attitude from parents or grandparents or whatever. I mean, you pass that kind of attitude down, and it's not a pretty trait by any stretch. So anyway, there's just another little bit of that you can enjoy.
Yeah. And again, call us or text us any dirt you have on people that don't tip.
Yeah, you do that.
Or pull the "Do you know who I am" card.
Any of that. We love those stories for sure. And this is obviously not a gossip show, but when we get some fun stuff like this, we're going to share it.
I hope for the good. Like, I would much rather have the people that text us or call us that go, hey, I waited on Vince Gill and Amy, and Vince left a $500 tip, which I've heard that's happened before.
Sure.
That kind of stuff.
My problem with the good stuff like that is it's just not as much fun. I'm just being honest.
I get it.
I love hearing that people I respect and admire are good people and do things like that. And I'm a huge Vince Gill fan, have been since the 80s. But it's just not as much fun.
That goes back to the comments on the thing we were talking about a couple shows ago. People like, nobody cares. Why would you even put this up there? And I believe it's so-and-so, but why don't you just say who it is? And it's like, well, I thought you didn't care. Yeah.
Well, and then on going back to that, I kind of like those people too, because haters can grow they can grow your views on social media as much as anybody.
Little known fact, Married with Children was about to get canceled 1 million years ago when there was only 4 networks before cable went crazy. It was about to be canceled. and a lady started a campaign to get them canceled because she said the values weren't there and it needed to be off the air, and it drew so much attention nationally that it shot up in the ratings and then became an 11-year hit.
Yeah. And so by all means, we'll try to do some more things to get you hating us and getting those campaigns going. Because,
I think we're not going to have to worry about getting that kick started.
We're just so damn nice.
Yes.
That's the problem.
A lot of people say that.
It's hard to get anybody to dislike us.
Exactly.
That ought to get it fired up.
Yeah, my mom will be the first complaining.
I was going to say,
who said that?
I can't believe my phone's not ringing with Katie already. Okay, so we talked about movies and stuff earlier, and I heard from my ex-brother-in-law, who I haven't heard from in 20 years, and it was just great to hear from him. Very nice guy. He used to do sound for like In the Heat of the Night, that TV show, and movies like Fern Gully and stuff. And I bring that up to kind of connect us here. His parents, my ex-in-laws, are lovely people. And Bruce is a minister, although I think he may be retired officially now. I don't know, but great people. But they do love going to movies.
Does that mean he doesn't have to go to church anymore?
I think he probably still goes.
Oh,
he's pretty into it. But they love movies, and even though he was a Baptist minister, he still would go to the occasional R-rated movie if it was one that wasn't like promoted as being heavily sexual or things like that. That wasn't his cup of tea, obviously. But they went to see a movie, and it's a movie I love. And to my knowledge, it's the only movie he's ever walked out of.
Okay.
So he and Jackie go to see Pulp Fiction. They last about 5 minutes. The opening scene of the movie, they're like, that's it, we're out. And because, if you've ever seen the movie, it's F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't them. So they walked out. And when he was telling me the story, I was like, oh, dude, I could have saved you your money.
My dad would walk out of movies a lot. He'd also threaten a lot. Like, this has gone on almost just long enough. I might be walking out of here in a minute. It's like, then the movie's over. I about walked out of that.
I almost did it. Classic dad move there. My great-grandfather saw Gone with the Wind in a movie theater. He didn't have to walk out, though, because the thing that offended him came right at the end when Rhett Butler said, I don't give a damn. His response in the movie theater out loud apparently was, So that was the version of whatever in whatever year that movie came out in movie theaters.
I love that.
Yeah, so he didn't walk out, but he was pretty upset that they had to say that word. My, how times have changed. Now look at movies. PG movies. God, when we were kids, Airplane was a PG movie. If you've ever seen it.
Was Smokey and the Bandit R or PG?
I want to say PG.
Yeah, I want to say it was PG too.
So they've definitely changed how things go. And we just got curious thinking about movies you walked out on and things, and we looked up a quick thing. The last that we know of G-rated movie was Toy Story 4. And that was 2019. Wow. All the Pixar Disney movies like that are G-rated. But basically that rating is dead.
Now they're adding in curse words just because kids won't go see a G-rated movie. It's not cool.
It's wild. And I think about how, Mom took me to see Airplane, and we walked out of that theater and she was,
Well, the ratings used to mean something. But with VCRs in the day, then DVDs now, and renting and on demand, now parents will watch a rated R movie right in front of their kid.
When our oldest...
It's just easier to have them watch it. You can handle it.
Well, that's it. Our oldest, she was trained, you don't watch anything beyond PG at an early age without us at a sleepover or something. And she called me one time from a sleepover and said, hey, they're going to watch whatever the movie was. Is it okay if I watch this? Yeah. And I said, yes, you can watch that. But I was so proud of her for doing that. But I get it, because then siblings come along, and then everybody, they're older, and you're like, well, I know it's PG-13, and it does get more challenging. But R-rated, we were always really strict with R-rated movies. And I knew they were going to watch them somewhere else, but I wasn't going to be the one to take them to the movie or let us sit down together to watch this R-rated movie. It was a weird thing. But anyway, that's the rating thing. But on the topic we really want to talk about is, have you ever walked out on a movie?
Have you?
Once.
What?
Godzilla.
You went to get a haircut.
You were with me.
We were with Cal Walker, our traffic reporter, who we love.
This was the 1990 whatever. I don't know what year that movie came out.
It was terrible.
We loved going to see big action movies and everything. So Guys' Day movie, we're going to go see Godzilla, and I sat through a bunch of it. And finally, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go get a haircut. I have to went and got my haircut. And that's how bad that movie was to me.
It was terrible. Matthew Broderick, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've seen some bad. Now I'm more likely, like at home, I've tried some movies and I'm like, I just can't do it. I turned off Hereditary. I don't like the director. The movies he's made are, for me, garbage. I wanted to turn off The Witch. Katie wanted to see that one, so I ended up sitting through the whole thing. But getting up and walking out of a movie, that's a pretty big commitment for me. So I've only done it once. You?
The only one I can remember is Beastmaster, and that's because I'd already heard about the scene. And once that was over, I was like, yeah, I think Dad, I'm going to go next door and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I don't need to hang around here anymore. So we want to hear, if you've got one, put it in the comments. What's a movie you've walked out on? And we came across an article where we found some other ones that people walked out on for various reasons. I thought some of these were pretty good.
Okay.
So this first one's a fairly new one. And Katie just had this on the other day when I walked into the room. And the 5 minutes I saw of it, I was like, what is this movie? It's called White Noise.
I've seen the trailer for it.
The guy who directed this, Aronoff, is that his name? Oh, I'm sorry, Noah Baumbach. Okay. I don't care for his movies.
I don't know what he's done.
I can't remember the other ones.
Just judging on the trailer for this movie, I doubt I've seen any of his movies.
Yeah. So I can see why somebody might not be into that. Holmes and Watson. Remember that with
Yes.
Will Ferrell? And this person says, the only movie I've ever walked out of.
My mother-in-law said that was one of the worst movies she's ever seen. She took my nephew, I think, to see it and was like, whoa, no.
I heard nothing but bad things about that one.
That's when, I mean, Will Ferrell went through a phase where I think he was getting $20 million a movie and everybody was just like anything with Will. That I think Semi-Pro was a movie. I think that Holmes and Watson, I think they started going Anchorman 2, where it's like, we just give us an outline. We don't really need a script. We'll just kind of wing it because we're so funny.
No. Get a script. Please get a script. I heard a lot of bad things. I haven't seen it. Morbius.
Yeah, I heard that was pretty bad.
Yeah. Super bad.
Oh, I like Superbad.
Not because it was a bad movie, though. My mom took me to see it when I was 10. Not sure what she expected. Why would you take a 10-year-old kid to see an R-rated movie?
She probably had no idea what it was about.
I mean, I've said it before on the show when I took Jeffrey, who was 12, to see Anchorman, which was PG-13. And in the first 10 minutes, I was like, I've made a huge mistake. Should not have brought him to see this. The Butterfly Effect. You should have known going in that was going to be bad.
Ashton Kutcher, right?
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Downsizing. I like that movie.
Is that the Matt Damon?
Matt Damon, yeah. They said my car was getting fixed, and they said it was going to take 3 or 4 hours. So I crossed the street, went to the theater. After an hour of that movie, I walked out and decided I'd rather just wait than finish it.
Wow. And we all know what the waiting rooms in those places is like. You got one TV with a blurry channel,
yes,
and it's on some show that nobody ever cares about.
So
like how to clean bears' feet. And the guy's like, yeah, this is what I do. I knock the bear out. And you're like, what?
I got to be honest, I'd watch that. I don't know where that's on, but let me know. I'd probably check that out. Jurassic World Dominion. Yes, this might be the last movie I turned off. We watched about half of it, and we looked at each other and said, this is terrible. And
like they didn't have a plan, did they?
No, it's awful. I mean, and if you're really breaking it down, maybe it's an unpopular opinion. I don't know. The first Jurassic Park.
Classic.
Stellar. Classic movie. But for me, the rest of them after that, really, are all just eh.
Yeah, the second one was just a chase movie.
Yeah. Well, when they got the chance to work in Jeff Goldblum's daughter's gymnastics in the hut, that's pretty much the end for me.
That reminds me of a movie I saw a million years ago, and I got hooked on it. It was just I got hooked on a terrible movie. And it was Burgess Meredith, Red Buttons, Paul Newman. I mean, all these people, and a volcano was hitting. And at the one point, the movie, they're all going across this little tree to get across, and lava's hitting everywhere. And there's a boy and Burgess Meredith left. And to go across, right before they get across, they're like, oh my gosh, this kid can't make it on his own. Or no, he crawls across. And then Burgess Meredith, they're like, there's no way, it's too thin. Like the pole's too thin for him to get across. And he goes, wait a minute. And he snaps a bamboo stick that's perfectly straight and says, I was in the circus for 20 years. And he tightrope walks across this. And I was like, man, how lucky is he that would come into play right then?
I bet he never thought he'd get to use that talent again outside the circus.
It just shows you anything you do for a living can pay off later down the road.
Don't give up, kids. Don't give up. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
I never saw any of the Harry Potters. So
but this isn't another one where it wasn't that it was a bad movie necessarily. Youngster, I was terrified of the basilisk. It's like a big snake-like thing. And when Harry killed it, I was afraid. Spoiler alert.
I thought it was just a chamber of like walls shelved with deodorant.
Wow. I'm not going to give you a courtesy on that one.
I don't want a courtesy laugh. It was funny, and you know it.
The Happening, remember that one? Mark Wahlberg?
Yes.
M. Night Shyamalan. I didn't walk out of that one, but I definitely was not impressed.
I didn't even go see that one because I was already off him.
Oh, okay.
Like, because his movies is like, okay, now I get it. You're going to have an incredibly boring movie all the way up until the last 30 seconds, and then we're supposed to be dumbfounded by some big twist ending.
Yeah, it's definitely a pattern. Crash, remember that movie?
Yes.
Came out in 2004. Matt Dillon.
Won an Oscar.
Yeah. Well, that's what's funny about this comment. It's the only movie I've ever walked out of in a theater. I was even on a date. I told her if she wanted to finish it, I'd be in the arcade, but she hated it as much as I did. We laughed at how horrible it was all the way home. 10 months later, it won the Oscar for Best Picture. Sometimes, I get it. Sometimes you just don't like a movie for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it necessarily a bad movie. Some movies I think we can all agree across the board.
Yeah.
It's a terrible movie. Usually it's just a matter of opinion. Sausage Party. I've heard so many people knock this movie and say it's the worst thing they ever saw. I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it, but it's not one I'll never see again.
Same. And then, I mean, this one, it won like, I don't know, 100 Oscars.
Okay.
Saving Private Ryan.
Well, that was so violent. That was tough to watch. I could see people walking out of that just because it's tough.
Well, this particular person said they got sick, the camera action.
Yes.
And all the cuts and stuff. But I remember we went to see that together, and we saw people bringing in small children.
And now, don't get me wrong. I think Saving Private Ryan should be shown to every 6th grade, 7th grade class in the country to show what these young men did, where now we can't get anybody to get along with their neighbor, much less go, defend our country.
I think junior high and above, you could probably get away with that.
And, 7 or 8 year olds, the first 30 minutes of that at the time was the most violent movie ever put out.
Well, and that's what Chris, I remember it very vividly. We're sitting there and this mom came in with her little kid and Chris just yells out, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bringing your children to the most violent movie ever made." Like everybody's turning around and looking at us. But it was true. What are you doing bringing a little kid to this? They're going to be horrified.
Yeah.
And war is horrifying. But maybe you don't lay that on a 7-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Give them a little time to figure out on their own how terrible the world is. And then you can get that to them. And then really, I don't think, is anybody surprised that Norbit wasn't good?
Eddie Murphy went through just a phase of what? I think this could be good. Well, we know that's a bomb. That's what I would have done if I was a movie executive. I would have sent scripts to Eddie Murphy and said, anything he says yes to, we're going to pass on doing.
It'd be a good litmus test at that time.
Yes,
for sure. The Revenant. Isn't that the movie that got Leo his first Oscar?
Yeah,
I never saw it.
It was slow.
Just too many. I don't like movies that are violent with animals and stuff, so I didn't watch it. But very slow, you said. But you made it through it.
Yeah.
Fear.com. Do you remember that one?
No.
I don't remember this one either. It came out about 20 years ago, apparently. And this person says, the only time I didn't care that I paid to watch a movie, it was just so awful I had to get out.
Wow.
If you've ever walked out of a movie or you turned one off after a short period of time, put it in the comments, mostly to help us make sure we don't watch bad movies.
Yes.
I'll just try to avoid them.
It's a public service you're doing for everyone.
Exactly. All right, and that brings us to some fun here. Some internet that made us laugh. Whether you're a dog person or a cat person, everybody has their opinions.
True.
That you cannot deny that this is accurate. Yes, sir. Thank you, Master. Oh, thank you for that food. And the cat is absolutely like, I'm out.
Yeah. No need for you to be here.
All our cat does is complain all day that she wants to be fed. I mean, she's on weight control stuff. She would weigh 50 pounds if we let it happen. But yeah, the moment you feed her, no thank you. No rub up like, hey, you're great. They're gone. This one could not be more accurate. Air vents in movies.
Yes.
I mean, they are shiny clean.
I never thought about that, but you are absolutely accurate. And there's always just enough room, no matter how big the person is, for them to do the crawling through there.
Have you ever seen a shot of your own air vents? There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be a pretty bad situation for me to climb into that thing and try to get away.
I would be dead from an asthma attack in about 10 seconds.
No, it's like, I might as well just get shot. At least that'll be quick.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start a conversation or two. Her, my husband's been having trouble falling asleep. Him, have you tried telling him about your day?
Oh.
I'm not going to lie. There have been times when Katie's telling me about, and I want her to have me as a sounding board, but she does work that I don't understand. And it's in the HR world. She gets going. And
I'm going to give you a tip here. Here's all you have to say to her, and she will love it. She will laugh, and it'll help you out. Just pick up the remote and go, is there a skip intro to this story? And just see what she does.
I know what she'll do. You ready to carry this channel on by yourself? I'll be in a shallow grave somewhere. Don't know where. I'm not going to live through that. This is a great question. And actually, we might do this another time on other social medias just to get some answers from you. What sounds totally normal at 3 p.m., but terrifying at 3 a.m.?
Ooh.
And the first answer I love here, the sound of the ice cream truck.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, that would be absolutely horrific.
It would be disconcerting to wake up in the middle of the night and hear that cruising around your neighborhood.
Yes. It's creepy during the day.
It is kind of creepy. Just the whole idea of that. A grown man calling children to his vehicle to give them treats. I mean, I'm not trying to throw stones here.
Usually we talk against that, kids, but I'm really thirsty for some ice cream today, so.
It was like Christmas. Don't talk to strangers unless it's a big fat guy in a red suit. Then you can sit on his lap and whisper in his ear.
Well, we used to say don't get in the car with strangers. Now we get online to send them to us. Hey, come get me.
Please come pick me up. Yes, strange person, weirdo. The packing insert from our robot vacuum looks like it should be guarding a temple somewhere.
It does.
I swear, we've seen that on cruises when we've gotten off in like Mexico and places. I mean,
100%.
Crazy. And 1998 prank, exact same picture. 2023 rapper.
Yep.
Or even, because Jelly Roll, even in country,
Yeah.
has some face tattoos, doesn't he?
Yep. Because I said he looks like a Chris Stapleton meshed with Post Malone.
Yeah. And I mean, and I like Post Malone. I think he's a super talented guy. I think Jelly Roll's super talented. But I question the mindset that says, you know what would be a good idea is to put something permanent all over my face.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand it. Not against it, just don't understand it.
Here's my favorite of the week.
Simba, my uncle killed my father and is trying to kill me now. Timon and Pumbaa. Oh, wow. Well, you see the rest of it. Very helpful advice. And as we wrap today, you know, we always tell you at the end of the show, please, you know, like the videos, subscribe if you have not already, and that stands true. We'll always say it. But then we ask you to share as well. You know, share links, let people know, hey, and we've seen some of you doing that on Twitter and social media. Thank you for that. And if you want to know why, like, God, you guys have been doing this for a few months. Why are you still telling people to share? Why are you still acting like nobody knows this is a thing? Because there are still people who don't know this is a thing. Obviously, you know, YouTube, this is a worldwide deal. We know there are billions of people who don't know this little tiny show is a thing. But we're talking about people who have known us from radio, listen to us on the radio. We just got this text this morning from one of our old fans of the radio show. She was texting our text line saying, hey, I was wondering about a prize I won back in November. I was told somebody would contact me. She didn't realize that this wasn't the radio station's text line. It's our text line. And as you can see, I responded, hey, it's Tony and Chris. You'll have to reach out to them another way. And she's, oh, sorry, I hope you're well. How can I listen to you guys now? We haven't been on the radio in East Tennessee since last June. And already people are like, oh, they just assumed we're out in the wind somewhere, and she didn't know how to listen. So I let her know, hey, we have this YouTube channel, and she's already subscribed, and she found us, and that's awesome. But that's why we keep saying, please share this and please get it out there.
Share it to all your friends and tell your friends to share it.
Share it down. They'll tell one person.
Exactly.
They'll tell one person.
Nailed it.
Okay. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. We've got more coming very soon. Remember, if you have ever served somebody and you got some gossip about a cheap celebrity, put it in the comments.
Or one that's unselfish.
Yeah, if you had a really positive experience with celebrity, that's fine too, I guess. This text line is up on the screen. You can use that to text us that, or you can leave us a voicemail. We love hearing your voices, or just drop it in the comments. But either way, we appreciate you listening, and we will see you next time.